So hello everyone. This is one of our coexist meeting, and it's part of the Unabridged MD podcast. Today, I'm so excited to have with us Erica, who is recently has transitioned to woman. So I have so many questions already from that. How do you talk and how you say things? So that's a thing. This podcast may not be for everyone. So if you are sensitive, if you're upset about anything, this is just one of our coexist meeting, where we invite people who we think are super interesting and have something to share, so that we can all coexist and we can all learn from each other. And then I'm just going to do my advertisement as usual. If you are looking for a rheumatologist that truly cares in the Denver and Colorado area, I am she. We are open, and you can contact us at info@unabridgedmd.com. Let it done. All right. So, Erica, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes,
It's a pleasure.
You have told us that you would answer any questions. I have a lot of dumb questions, so I apologize in advance. Can you tell us a little bit your story? And I won't talk. Tell us your story. Like, tell us who you are, where you're coming from, and how you realize, or maybe you have always realized that you were a woman. How you realized that, like.
Well, at first, if you don't mind, I'd like to just introduce myself. My name is Erica. I am a wife. I am a mother. I have a career. I've had the same job for 25 years. I own my own home. I live my life much as everyone that's attending lives their lives. You know, I go to the grocery store, pay my bills, I vote, and I'm also a transgender woman. And I know pronouns are in the news a lot. A lot of people are upset about having to use pronouns, but I will ask you to please refer to me as she and her. I have always known that I was different. I never knew quite how or why, but I never quite fit in for as long as I could remember. And I struggled with my identity and my sexuality for most of my life, not knowing really who I was, until the early 2000s, when my mother came to visit me in Colorado, and she brought me a book that she said that she thought I would enjoy, and it was a memoir by transgender author Jennifer Finney Boylan, and it was called She's Not There, and it's a very famous book. So I read the book, it changed my life, but also scared the dickens out of me, because I realized I was transgender, but I didn't know where to go from that point on. And I was also in a very difficult place in my life. I was going through a very difficult divorce, and I know some people here have probably been through that before. And I was really concerned about the custody of my children. And also, one of the other things is I was really concerned about how I'd be accepted among my coworkers and among my peers. I had a great deal of shame once I realized I was transgender. So I buried it for 20 years, close to 20 years, maybe 18 years, I think. And then a series of events prompted me to finally come out. And that was in October of 2020 when I finally started telling people who I was. And I called my healthcare provider to see if I could get counseling or therapy to try to figure out where to go from here. And here I am today in front of you folks.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So I have a lot of questions.
Okay, go for it.
The first thing is, and I think I'm going to start with the pronouns, because
Okay.
I will tell you the reason I'm so touched that you're coming is that I have encounters in my practice with people who are transsexual, and there's always some odd moments. Either maybe because I don't know how to refer to them or anything, and also because I think it's so clear for me what my sexuality is and what my pronouns are, that I don't understand necessarily why there would be sometimes like them being upset. So I think the first question I have for you is, why is it so important to refer to you as she or her? If you were to say him or him to me, I would be like, yeah, whatever. Like, I mean, you don't know how to speak English, and that's all, you know. Like, but why is it so important? And so that we can understand and we can refer to the people we love and we care for, including our patients, of course, properly.
I will say that transsexual isn't really used very much anymore. It is a passé description, of people who have transitioned, and it's usually was used in the past for people who have medically transitioned.
Got it.
But now transgender is a blanket term for everyone who has a gender identity, different from their birth. And to start with that, and then why pronouns are so important. Personally, I don't get too upset anymore when I'm misgendered. It's often by a friend or someone who's known me for years, and they still remember me before I transitioned. And occasionally, strangers will misgender me, but and that will happen. I'm over 6 feet tall, and people, when they see me from behind, they just automatically, or at least they assume that I must be male, and I can deal with that. The biggest reason to use the proper pronouns, I would think, would be for safety, especially since transgender people, transgender children are in the middle or on the front line of the current culture war. It's really important to get our pronouns correctly, because we could be in a situation where if somebody were to find that we were transgender, would want to harm us or would see us as a threat. So that's probably the biggest reason to use the correct pronouns. There are some people, whether they're transgender or non-binary, that do take a personal offense to it, but it's difficult these days, I think, to try to figure out who is what and whatever. I think the best thing to do is to just, if you're not sure, just ask. And for the most part, people won't be offended.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. No,
Oh, you're
thank you.
welcome.
It's true. I think that there's so much, we don't want to hurt, right?
Exactly.
And so we were talking about this earlier, that it's almost taboo. Like, we don't talk, we don't ask, and we don't say anything because we don't want to hurt. But you were also saying, I wish people were asking me so that it could be out, right? Like, it could be something that I can share. So, yeah. Do you want to talk about this a little bit?
Well, what I meant by that is that people who know that I'm in the process of transition are not afraid to ask me questions about my transition. I think people are very fearful they're going to hurt my feelings or ask me an inappropriate question. Like, one of the biggest questions that's asked, and it's kind of not the best question, is are you having the surgery? And that's kind of a big taboo, because there's a misconception in our society that in order to be transgender, whether you're an adult or a child, that automatically requires some type of gender affirming surgery, whether it is having your genitals altered, or having a breast augmentation, or having top surgery for a transgender man where you're having your breast tissue removed. People just automatically assume that is what's going to happen if you're transgender. So, and that is not the case. You don't have to have any hormone therapy to be transgender. You don't have to have any kind of surgery to be transgender. You just have to have a gender identity that is opposite of the gender that you were assigned at birth.
Mm-hmm.
So is that?
Yeah. No, that helps. So more question, and you
Okay.
have the you can say no. I'm going to answer this question.
No, that's fine.
Of course. How did you know that you were a woman?
I knew that I was feminine, and I have been dressing in women's clothes almost all my life, not knowing why, with a great deal of shame. I had this side to myself, but I did not understand what it was. So when my mother, perhaps she knew, I think she probably knew who I was, gave me that book that helped me realize or give me an idea of what the path before me was, and it just took me over a decade to try to figure that out. But it's just pretty common for most women of my age who transition, to have the same story where you try to express your femininity through cross-dressing either in public or in private, but have so much shame about it because you think there's something wrong with you. You think that that you have a mental issue, that you need psychological or psychiatric help. And so we go through periods of where we'll start to build our wardrobe up, our secret wardrobe, and then we get ashamed and we throw it all away, put it in a big trash bag and throw it in the dumpster into the middle of the night, hoping nobody will follow you to the dumpster to look inside the trash bag and find your secrets.
I wish I had, because I could have like more wardrobe,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure you have pretty good taste. I should have.
So,
where is the stash?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, and because you fear or you think that if your family, if your spouse, if your children, if your parents, siblings find out who you really are, everybody is just going to disown you. So they're going to ask you to leave the family, never come back. No more Thanksgiving, no more Christmas.
So actually, I wanna touch a little bit about that shame, because I wanna know why. So right, there's this shame before, and then there is a day where you're like, you know what, that this is who I am. How do you get that courage to be like, this is who I am, and you're gonna have to accept me like this?
You get to a point where you just cannot continue to live a lie, because you're not only being dishonest to yourself, you're being dishonest to everyone you love. Everyone. And how are you supposed to have an honest relationship? How are you supposed to have a deep, lifelong relationship with the people around you that you love if you can't be honest with who you are, about who you are? And so eventually that fear of that shame gets to a point where you just have, I'm not saying this correctly, but it gets to a point where you just can't live like that anymore, and it's either you transition or you die. And that's basically what happens. It's either I have to do this or I cannot continue to live my life as it is. Yeah. So
it's almost like from shame, you're like, you just have this courage of just living who you are.
I don't know if it's courage, and I thank you for saying that. It's often described as courage. I'm sure there's some courage involved, but I really don't feel like I had much choice. I mean, my fear is that I was going to die and never be my authentic self. In that, you know, and that I wasn't really going to live life fully, that I always was going to live life just halfway. So it was just, I had to do it. And then once you make up your mind and you tell the people that are closest to you what's going on, and you deal with their fears and their concerns, then you can start making the steps with your therapist, with your healthcare providers, your endocrinologist, and finally trying to figure out who you are and how you're going to become that person.
And how does that feel now?
It is incredible. My life has changed. I never imagined that I would be so blessed in friends, in social groups, with everyone that's here tonight. Never in my wildest dreams would I've ever imagined this. And I suddenly have the courage, there's that word again, to be myself and live to the best of my ability without fear. And can't say that it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I've done some difficult things, but it is one of the hardest things I've ever done, and one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And I am, despite being in the crosshairs of the culture war right now, I am incredibly happy, and I'm very happy to be here too. Thank you.
It's very cool. So I have so you have transition, and you're saying that you're feeling really good about it.
Yeah.
Did anyone, this feeling of shame where you were so afraid that people would disown you, did it actually happen with even one person?
Not that I know of. As far as my immediate family and extended family, I'm still in touch with everyone. I do have family drama with my brothers. We weren't close before. That really has not changed. But they do know who I am. And they have expressed their support, so, positively. But I have not really received any negativity. I haven't lost any of my family. I think there are acquaintances I have and people that were friends that I had before that I'm not sure that we'll ever have the same kind of friendship again. I think to expand on that, I had friends who really liked the old Eric quite a bit for whatever reason. And I think that when I transitioned in a way that probably broke their heart. So, and they still don't know quite how to cope with it. But for the most part, it has been very positive and affirming experience with just everyone I know.
Yeah. Do you think can I refer to you as a kid as a little boy, or should I do little girl?
You can refer to me. You can refer little boy is fine.
Little boy?
When I was
Okay.
a little boy.
Thank you. So do you think that there is something you would say to that little boy if you could, be in the head of you when you were a little kid?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we all had that parent or that sibling that believed in us more than anyone else, It may have been your mother or father. For me, it was my sister. And I know, this is how I look at it. I think she knew how to approach me, and so that's how I think I would approach myself at that age. To be able to encourage me to be myself. That's what she did. Yeah. To have more of my family be able to do that, not be so fearful that I was going to turn out. They thought I was going to turn out and be gay. That's what everyone thought at the time. I understand this was the early 70s, 1970s. So yeah, if I could speak to myself when I was that young, I would tell myself it's going to get better. It would be difficult times. There would be people that would want to hurt you and harm you, but it will get better as long as you surround yourself with people who believe in you and love you. You can make it through.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to say, are you you still love women?
Yes. Can I elaborate on that?
Yes, please do.
So, one of the big misconceptions is that transitioning and gender identity has to do with sex. Gender identity is who you go to bed as, and sexual identity is who you go to bed with. So I think maybe some of you have heard this before. So, and just because I am a transgender woman does not mean that my sexual preference changes with that. It does with some people. But for the most part, I'm attracted to women, and I'm still very much attracted to women. That has not changed with me. So I went from being a straight man to a lesbian woman. So there you go. Not only am I a transgender woman, but I'm a lesbian too. So go figure. We're coming out twice today, folks.
That's very funny.
Okay.
That's super funny. No, that's yeah, and do you want? I don't know if you want to, but like go into like the why in your own experience, because I'm assuming you can only talk about your own experience. Like, why would you want to change everything?
That's a really good question, and it's a little difficult to describe. You start with the hormone therapy as an adult. It's different for children, and we can get into that later. But as an adult, they give you the option to start hormone therapy, which comes with risk. Your primary care physician and your endocrinologist explain that to you. They have to. And so you try taking estrogen or a light dose or spironolactone, which I think most people have heard of. It's one of the properties of spironolactone is that it suppresses the production of testosterone, and just to see how you feel. And I felt incredible. And then you decide to proceed with that to see what kind of physical changes and how you feel. And I guess there's a lot of emphasis put on the physical changes of when someone transitions, but honestly the biggest change is up here. The way that you perceive the world, the way you interact with people, the way you feel, the way you think changes drastically in the first 3 months of suppressing the testosterone and introducing estrogen to your body. It is the most amazing part of transition. And then you're like, okay, where do I go from here? Do I want to continue on this course? Do I want to seek any kind of medical transition? I knew before I took the first estrogen pill that I wanted to have further gender affirming surgeries. So to put this in perspective, I have been on hormone replacement therapy, which is the combination of estrogen and spironolactone, for almost, I'd say, just over 2 years. Yeah, 2 years and half a month. So,
wow.
Okay. So, and it has been life-changing. So, and then the other difficult thing is the social transition, which honestly is the most difficult part. Learning how to navigate the world as a woman. Trying to reintroduce yourself to your social circles as your authentic self. That is very frightening. And just going out in the world as yourself. And then learning how you want to express yourself through your clothes or through your makeup, or those things are very difficult. Not to mention the bill for a new wardrobe, which
That's
is
when
significant.
you're like, dang, I should have kept those.
Yes, but buying clothes is one of the great things about transition. but
we have more choice.
But not, yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh! Except for the pockets, no pockets.
Oh, you're complaining about that
What is
too.
going about that?
We need more
What is
pockets,
this with
guys?
no pockets? I mean, but not everyone who transitions wants to dress, so feminine, or wear makeup, or go get a manicure, or a pedicure. Not everyone wants to do that. I know trans women who still wear jeans and tennis shoes and t-shirts all the time, and they're extraordinarily beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I guess, does that answer your question?
That
I'm
does,
kind of going
yes.
on tangents.
No,
a little bit.
this does. So I want to thank you so much for the auditors of Unabridged MD, because they're going to be able to listen to this. I'm going to close and open the floor for discussion, because I'm sure there's more discussion, but because we don't have a microphone for everyone, this is it for the Unabridged MD podcast. So thank you so much, Erica. This is so useful. So I hope it's going to help everyone that's listening. And again, if you're looking for a rheumatologist that cares in the Denver area, I am here. Thank you.